Ladies and gentlemen, our perception is the lens through which we interpret the world. Every situation, every challenge, and every opportunity that comes our way is filtered through this lens. The way we choose to see things determines how we respond, how we feel, and ultimately, whether we succeed or fail. It is not the external event itself that matters, but rather how we perceive and interpret it. This fundamental truth is at the heart of many of history's greatest philosophies, and it is a cornerstone of personal success. Mastering perception is not about denying reality, but about shaping how we respond to it in a way that empowers rather than weakens us. When difficulties arise, the natural tendency for most people is to react emotionally. A rejection feels like a personal attack, a failure seems like an insurmountable defeat, and an obstacle appears to be an unfair burden. However, these reactions are not dictated by the event itself, but by our perception of it. If we shift our perspective, what once seemed like a problem can instead be seen as a lesson, an opportunity, or a stepping stone toward growth. This shift in thinking is not just a feel-good exercise. It is a powerful strategy for success. Take, for example, the experience of failure. A person who has not mastered their perception will see failure as a verdict, a statement about their worth and potential. They will feel defeated, demoralized, and perhaps even unwilling to try again. However, someone who has trained themselves to control their perception will see the same failure as information, valuable feedback that can be used to improve. They will study what went wrong, make adjustments, and come back stronger. The failure does not change, only the way it is perceived does. But that change in perception makes all the difference between giving up and growing. This principle applies to personal interactions as well. Imagine being criticized harshly by a colleague or a superior. If you immediately perceive their words as an attack, you might react defensively, feel insulted, and allow resentment to cloud your judgment. However, if you choose to perceive the criticism as a source of potential insight, whether or not it was delivered kindly, you gain the power to extract value from it. Perhaps there is some truth to what was said. Perhaps even if it was unfair, you can still use it as motivation to improve. By choosing a perception that serves rather than hinders you, you turn what could have been a negative experience into a constructive one. Another crucial aspect of mastering perception is recognizing that most of the stress and anxiety people experience is self-imposed. The mind tends to magnify problems, creating stories and worst-case scenarios that often have no basis in reality. Someone who is running late for an important meeting might perceive it as a disaster, imagining all the negative consequences that could follow. Their stress level spikes, they become frustrated, and their performance may even suffer as a result. But another person in the same situation might choose to perceive the delay as insignificant in the grand scheme of things, using the extra time to mentally prepare rather than panic. The circumstances are identical, yet the experience is entirely different because of perception. Mastering perception also means training oneself to see the hidden opportunities within challenges. Many of history's greatest success stories emerged from what initially seemed like insurmountable obstacles. A failed business venture may lead to the discovery of a better idea. A lost job might open the door to a more fulfilling career path. A personal hardship may strengthen resilience and provide a deeper understanding of life. These opportunities are always there, but they can only be recognized by those who have developed the ability to see beyond immediate setbacks. This practice is not about blind optimism or denying reality. It is about clarity. It is about seeing things as they are, but choosing an interpretation that leads to growth, strength, and action, rather than fear, paralysis, or despair. It requires discipline, self-awareness, and constant practice. But once perception is mastered, success in any field becomes not only possible, but inevitable. One of the most powerful mental shifts a person can make is learning to focus only on what they can control. This principle, deeply rooted in Stoic philosophy, is the key to reducing stress, improving decision-making, and ultimately achieving success. Far too often, people waste time and energy worrying about things that are completely outside of their influence. Other people's opinions, external circumstances, or random events. This creates frustration, anxiety, and a sense of helplessness. However, by shifting focus to what is within our control, our thoughts, actions, and responses, life becomes more manageable and success becomes far more achievable. At its core, this mindset is about efficiency. Energy spent on things beyond our control is energy wasted. If a person spends hours agonizing over the possibility of failure, rejection, or bad luck, they are not actually doing anything to prevent those outcomes. They are merely draining their mental and emotional reserves. But if that same energy is redirected toward preparation, effort, and skill building, things within their control, they dramatically increase their chances of success. Worrying about the economy does nothing, but developing marketable skills and adapting to changes does. Complaining about a difficult boss is unproductive, but improving performance, seeking new opportunities, or learning better communication skills is within one's control. This principle also applies to emotional resilience. When people allow external circumstances to dictate their mood, they are handing over control of their emotions to the outside world. If someone gets angry because of a traffic jam, upset because of a rude comment, or stressed because of unpredictable events, they are essentially allowing themselves to be controlled by forces beyond their reach. But by focusing on their own response, choosing patience instead of frustration, calm instead of anger, they regain control over their emotional state. This does not mean ignoring reality or pretending problems do not exist. It means responding in a way that is constructive rather than reactive. One of the most common ways people waste energy is by worrying about what others think of them. No matter how hard someone tries, they can never fully control other people's perceptions, opinions, or judgments. Seeking validation or fearing criticism is a never-ending battle that leads to anxiety and self-doubt. But focusing on one's own character, integrity, and effort is within one's control. When a person lives according to their own principles rather than the shifting approval of others, they gain confidence, inner peace, and a sense of purpose. Another major aspect of this principle is accepting the unpredictability of life. No one can control every outcome. Sometimes, despite all efforts, things go wrong. A business deal might fall through, a relationship might not work out, or an unexpected crisis may occur. Those who fixate on controlling the uncontrollable will find themselves frustrated and overwhelmed. But those who accept uncertainty while focusing on what they can do in the present moment will remain adaptable, resilient, and productive. They understand that while they cannot dictate every result, they can always control how they respond. Even in high-pressure situations, this mindset is incredibly powerful. An athlete cannot control the referee's calls, the weather, or the opponent's skill level, but they can control their training, effort, and mental discipline. A student cannot control the difficulty of an exam, but they can control their preparation. A leader cannot control every market fluctuation, but they can control their decision-making and adaptability. By focusing on what is in their power, they maximize their potential for success. Mastering this mindset requires constant practice, but once developed, it brings a profound sense of freedom. It eliminates unnecessary stress, boosts confidence, and creates a path to success that is based on action rather than worry. When people focus on what they can control, they become the architects of their own lives rather than victims of circumstance. Discomfort and hardship are often seen as things to be avoided, but they are in fact the key to success and personal growth. The ability to embrace difficulty rather than run from it separates those who achieve greatness from those who remain stagnant. Hardship is an unavoidable part of life, and the sooner one learns to welcome it, the stronger and more capable they become. Those who train themselves to endure discomfort develop resilience, discipline, and mental toughness, qualities that make them unstoppable in the face of challenges. Most people spend their lives seeking comfort, avoiding pain, and taking the path of least resistance. They look for shortcuts, easy solutions, and quick gratification. But comfort breeds complacency. When everything is easy, there is no reason to grow. Muscles grow stronger under resistance, minds grow sharper through challenge, and character is forged in adversity. Every difficult situation presents an opportunity to develop inner strength. Yet many people fail to see it because they are too focused on escaping the discomfort. Instead of viewing hardship as a problem, it must be seen as a necessary ingredient for success. One of the best ways to develop resilience is by voluntarily exposing oneself to controlled discomfort. This can take many forms, such as physical training, mental challenges, or disciplined habits. Athletes push themselves beyond their limits in training so that competition feels easier. Entrepreneurs take financial and emotional risks to build something meaningful. Writers endure hours of frustration to refine their craft. No one achieves excellence without first going through the struggle. Every person who has reached great heights has faced countless obstacles along the way, but their willingness to endure discomfort allowed them to keep going when others would have quit. Hardship also has a way of revealing character. When things are easy, it is simple to maintain composure and discipline. But when life becomes difficult, true character is tested. A person who has trained themselves to handle discomfort will remain calm under pressure, while someone who has always avoided struggle will break down at the first sign of difficulty. Learning to embrace hardship means developing the ability to remain steady in the face of chaos, to persist even when results are not immediate, and to push forward despite setbacks. Another benefit of embracing discomfort is that it shifts one's perspective on fear and failure. Many people avoid challenges because they are afraid. Afraid of rejection, afraid of looking foolish, afraid of failing. But when a person repeatedly exposes themselves to difficulty, they realize that failure is not a dead end but a lesson. They become comfortable with discomfort, and fear loses its grip on them. The more a person experiences struggle, the more they understand that they are capable of enduring it. They stop seeing failure as something to avoid and start seeing it as a stepping stone toward mastery. Beyond personal growth, embracing discomfort also leads to greater appreciation for the good moments in life. When someone has faced true hardship, they develop gratitude for even the smallest comforts. A person who has endured hunger values a simple meal. Someone who has experienced loneliness cherishes meaningful relationships. Hardship creates perspective, making success and happiness even more fulfilling. The mind and body are capable of far more than most people realize, but they must be trained through discomfort. Just as a blade is sharpened through friction, a person becomes stronger through struggle. Those who reject hardship remain weak, unprepared for the inevitable challenges of life. But those who seek out discomfort, endure pain, and push through adversity develop an unshakable mindset that guarantees success. The willingness to embrace hardship is not just an advantage, it is a necessity for anyone who wants to achieve greatness. Voluntary simplicity is a powerful principle that leads to greater clarity, focus, and fulfillment in life. In a world obsessed with accumulation, whether it be wealth, possessions, or status, many people find themselves feeling overwhelmed rather than satisfied. They chase after more, believing that success and happiness are tied to external achievements, only to discover that the pursuit never ends. Voluntary simplicity is the conscious choice to strip away the unnecessary, to focus only on what truly matters, and to free oneself from the distractions that prevent personal growth and peace of mind. It is not about deprivation, but about creating space for what is essential. At its core, voluntary simplicity is an exercise in discipline and self-awareness. It requires an honest assessment of what adds value to one's life and what merely clutters it. Many people fill their lives with things, possessions they rarely use, commitments that drain them, and social obligations they do not genuinely enjoy. They assume that having more equates to being more, but in reality, excess often leads to stress and dissatisfaction. By simplifying, a person regains control over their time, energy, and mental space. When unnecessary distractions are removed, they can direct their efforts toward meaningful work, relationships, and self-improvement. One of the most immediate benefits of voluntary simplicity is a greater sense of mental clarity. When life is cluttered with unnecessary commitments, excessive consumption, and constant noise, it becomes difficult to focus on what is truly important. The mind is constantly jumping from one task to another, trying to manage an overwhelming number of responsibilities and desires. Simplicity removes these distractions and allows a person to think more clearly, make better decisions, and cultivate a sense of inner calm. A simplified life creates the space needed for creativity, deep work, and genuine connection with others. Simplicity also strengthens discipline. Choosing to live with less requires self-restraint and the ability to say no to distractions. It means resisting the urge to accumulate more just because society promotes the idea that success is measured by material wealth. By practicing voluntary simplicity, a person develops the ability to focus on long-term fulfillment rather than short-term gratification. They learn to distinguish between what they truly need and what is merely a fleeting desire. This discipline extends beyond material possessions and influences all areas of life, including work, relationships, and personal growth. Another key advantage of voluntary simplicity is the freedom it provides. When a person is not weighed down by excessive possessions, unnecessary expenses, or an overloaded schedule, they gain a sense of independence. They are not tied to debt, obligations they do not care about, or the constant pressure to keep up with societal expectations. This freedom allows them to make choices based on their values rather than external pressures. They can pursue meaningful work, spend time with loved ones, and invest in experiences that bring true joy rather than being stuck in a cycle of endless consumption and stress. Living simply also enhances one's appreciation for life's small pleasures. When a person is constantly chasing after more, they often fail to appreciate what they already have. Their attention is always focused on the next purchase, the next achievement, or the next source of validation. But when they slow down and embrace simplicity, they begin to notice and value the little things. A quiet morning, a deep conversation, a moment of reflection. Gratitude naturally follows simplicity because it shifts focus away from what is missing and toward what is already present. There is also a profound connection between simplicity and resilience. Those who practice voluntary simplicity develop the ability to adapt to change and handle adversity with greater ease. When a person is not dependent on excess, they are less affected by external circumstances. They can navigate financial hardships, career setbacks, or personal challenges without feeling as though their world is falling apart. Their sense of well-being is not tied to material wealth or status, but rather to their internal state of mind. This makes them more adaptable, resourceful, and emotionally stable. Simplicity is not about rejecting ambition or refusing to strive for success. Instead, it is about redefining success in a way that aligns with personal values and priorities. Many of history's greatest thinkers, leaders, and creators embraced simplicity as a way to focus their energy on what truly mattered. They understood that unnecessary complexity leads to distraction, while simplicity allows for deeper work, stronger relationships, and a more fulfilling life. Choosing voluntary simplicity is a radical act in a world that constantly encourages more possessions, more commitments, more distractions. But those who embrace it find that they gain something far more valuable than material wealth or social validation. They gain clarity, purpose, and the ability to direct their lives with intention. They are no longer controlled by external expectations, but are instead free to pursue a life of meaning and depth. By removing what is unnecessary, they make space for what is truly essential. And in doing so, they discover a level of success and fulfillment that cannot be found through accumulation alone. Emotions are a natural and inevitable part of human experience. They shape how we think, how we act, and how we relate to others. However, when emotions control us rather than the other way around, they can lead to poor decisions, unnecessary stress, and damaged relationships. Mastering emotions does not mean suppressing them or pretending they do not exist. Rather, it means learning to understand them, regulate them, and respond to situations with reason instead of impulse. Those who develop the ability to control their emotions and master their reactions gain a significant advantage in both personal and professional life. One of the biggest challenges people face is reacting emotionally to difficult situations. When confronted with criticism, conflict, or unexpected setbacks, the instinctive response is often to react with anger, frustration, or fear. These emotional reactions, however, rarely lead to positive outcomes. A person who lashes out in anger at a colleague, for example, may damage a professional relationship that took years to build. Someone who reacts impulsively out of fear may miss an important opportunity simply because they were too focused on avoiding discomfort. Learning to pause, reflect, and respond with a level head allows a person to make better decisions and maintain control over their actions. The first step in mastering emotions is developing self-awareness. Many people go through life unaware of how their emotions dictate their behavior. They react to situations without understanding why they feel a certain way, or considering whether their response is helpful. By cultivating self-awareness, a person can recognize emotional triggers, identify patterns in their reactions, and gain insight into what influences their moods. This awareness creates the space needed to respond thoughtfully, rather than react impulsively. One of the most effective ways to regulate emotions is by practicing detachment. This does not mean becoming indifferent or emotionless, but rather creating enough distance between oneself and a situation to assess it rationally. Instead of immediately reacting to an insult or a frustrating event, a person who practices detachment steps back and considers the best course of action. They recognize that their feelings in the moment may not reflect reality, and that acting on impulse can lead to regret. By observing emotions without being ruled by them, they maintain control over their thoughts and behaviors. Another crucial aspect of emotional mastery is learning to manage stress and anxiety. Stress is often a result of feeling overwhelmed by circumstances that seem beyond control. While external situations may be unpredictable, a person's response to them is always within their power. Developing habits such as deep breathing, meditation, or simply taking a break before reacting can help regulate emotions and prevent stress from spiraling into frustration or panic. Practicing these techniques consistently strengthens emotional resilience, allowing a person to navigate difficult situations with composure. Equally important is the ability to reframe negative emotions. Every emotion, even those that feel unpleasant, carries information. Instead of viewing anger as purely destructive, it can be seen as a sign that something needs to change. Instead of treating fear as a weakness, it can be used as a tool for growth by pushing past comfort zones. By changing the way emotions are interpreted, a person can use them to their advantage rather than allowing them to be a source of distress. A critical part of mastering reactions is choosing reason over impulse. When emotions run high, logic and rational thinking often take a back seat. However, making decisions based solely on emotions can lead to poor outcomes. A person who allows jealousy to dictate their actions in a relationship may create unnecessary conflict. Someone who lets disappointment turn into self-doubt may give up on their goals prematurely. By stepping back and evaluating a situation logically, emotions can be put into perspective, leading to better choices and more productive responses. Mastering emotions also improves relationships. Many conflicts arise not because of the situation itself, but because of how people react to it. A minor disagreement can escalate into a major argument if both parties respond with defensiveness and anger. Conversely, a person who remains calm and composed can de-escalate tension and create an environment for constructive dialogue. By controlling emotions, misunderstandings are minimized, communication improves, and relationships become more harmonious. Ultimately, learning to control emotions and master reactions is a skill that requires practice, patience, and self-discipline. It is not about eliminating emotions, but about channeling them in a way that leads to positive outcomes. Those who cultivate emotional control find that they are not easily shaken by external events. They remain steady under pressure, make wiser decisions, and navigate life's challenges with confidence. Their ability to respond, rather than react, allows them to maintain clarity, build stronger relationships, and move towards success with a sense of purpose and inner strength. Acting with virtue and integrity is one of the most powerful ways to build a meaningful and successful life. While many people chase external rewards, such as wealth, status, or recognition, those who prioritize virtue understand that true success comes from living in alignment with strong moral principles. Integrity is not just about following rules or avoiding wrongdoing. It is about consistently choosing to do what is right, even when it is difficult, inconvenient, or goes unnoticed. A person who acts with virtue builds trust, earns respect, and cultivates a deep sense of self-worth that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. Living with integrity requires a firm commitment to personal values. Many people compromise their principles under pressure, whether it be to gain approval, avoid conflict, or achieve short-term gains. However, when a person makes decisions based on virtue rather than external rewards, they develop unshakable confidence in themselves. They do not need to second-guess their choices or worry about being exposed for dishonesty, because their actions are always guided by honesty and ethical standards. This consistency builds credibility, both in personal and professional life. Others recognize and appreciate those who can be trusted to do what is right, making integrity a key foundation for lasting success. A person who acts with virtue does not allow external influences to dictate their moral compass. In a world where shortcuts, deception, and manipulation are often rewarded, it is easy to justify unethical behavior as necessary for survival or advancement. However, integrity means standing firm in one's values, even when faced with temptations or challenges. It means refusing to engage in dishonesty, even if it seems like the easier path. It means holding oneself accountable, even when no one else is watching. This steadfast commitment to virtue not only builds strong character, but also leads to long-term fulfillment and peace of mind. Integrity is especially important in relationships, both personal and professional. Trust is the foundation of any meaningful connection, and without integrity, trust quickly erodes. People respect and value those who keep their promises, follow through on commitments, and act with honesty in all situations. A person who consistently demonstrates integrity becomes someone others can rely on, strengthening bonds and opening doors to new opportunities. On the other hand, those who are dishonest, unreliable, or deceitful may achieve temporary success but will ultimately find that their reputation and relationships suffer. Acting with virtue also means treating others with fairness, kindness, and respect. It is easy to be virtuous when dealing with people who are kind, respectful, and supportive. However, true integrity is tested when interacting with those who are difficult, dishonest, or unkind. A person of virtue does not lower their standards to match the negativity of others. Instead, they maintain their principles and respond with patience, fairness, and dignity. They understand that their behavior is a reflection of their own values, not of the actions of those around them. By consistently choosing to act with virtue, they set an example for others and contribute to a culture of respect and ethical conduct. Integrity also plays a crucial role in decision-making. Every choice, big or small, is an opportunity to reinforce one's commitment to virtue. When faced with a dilemma, a person with integrity does not ask, "What is the easiest option?" or "What will benefit me the most in the short term?" Instead, they ask, "What is the right thing to do?" This mindset ensures that their actions align with their values, even when the right choice is the more difficult one. Over time, this habit of ethical decision-making strengthens character and solidifies a reputation for honesty and reliability. One of the most valuable aspects of living with virtue is the inner peace it brings. A person who acts with integrity does not have to live with guilt, fear, or the stress of maintaining a false image. They do not need to worry about being exposed for dishonesty or regret past choices that compromise their values. Instead, they experience a deep sense of contentment, knowing that they have lived honestly and honorably. This peace of mind is something that no amount of wealth, status, or external validation can provide. Integrity is not something that is developed overnight. It is built through consistent actions and decisions. It requires self-discipline, self-reflection, and the willingness to hold oneself accountable. There will always be moments of temptation, challenges that test one's values, and situations where taking the ethical path is not the easiest option. However, those who remain committed to acting with virtue find that the rewards far outweigh any temporary difficulties. They earn the respect of others, build meaningful relationships, and create a legacy of honor and trustworthiness. Ultimately, acting with virtue and integrity is one of the most effective ways to guarantee success, not just in terms of external achievements, but in leading a life of true meaning and fulfillment. It is a choice that requires strength, commitment, and resilience, but it is also a choice that leads to lasting rewards. Those who dedicate themselves to living with integrity build unshakable confidence, gain the trust and admiration of others, and create a life that is not only successful but also deeply satisfying. In the end, success is not just about what we achieve, but about who we become in the process. Living with virtue and integrity ensures that our success is not built on deception, manipulation, or fleeting gains, but on a strong foundation of trust, respect, and inner fulfillment. When we commit to doing what is right, even when it is difficult, we cultivate a character that stands the test of time. Wealth and status may come and go, but integrity remains, shaping a legacy that speaks long after we are gone. The path of virtue is not always the easiest, but it is the one that leads to true greatness. A life of honor, purpose, and unwavering self-respect.